Good evening, my name is Peter Eigen and I'm joined here tonight with Peter Eigen, the founder of Transparency International, one of the world's largest NGOs fighting corruption. Now, fighting corruption hasn't always been popular, but we're proud to have him here tonight. What motivated you to fight corruption to begin with?
Well, for a long time I was working in the World Bank, trying to fight poverty, trying to develop good projects and good policies. And in Kenya, I noticed that most of our efforts were quite futile, because many of the decisions of the powerful people in Africa were distorted by systematic corruption coming from companies in the north, from my own country, from Germany, from France, from the UK, from Japan, from Canada. Practically all the countries which wanted to do business, wanted to invest, wanted to sell huge projects there, were paying bribes in order to get wrong decisions from the decision makers in Africa. And this I could observe in many very concrete situations, and therefore I began to think that we at the World Bank, which is an institution which tries to advise governments on how to have better economic policies and so on, that we should also have a concept which systematically tries to control corruption. We received a memorandum from the legal department of the World Bank which says that you are not allowed to do this. Because in our charter of the World Bank it says the World Bank is not allowed to meddle in the internal affairs of its member countries. And they basically claimed that corruption is a purely political and social and cultural issue, and therefore it was not the business of the World Bank. So they more or less forced me to leave the World Bank because of my interest of pursuing this.
Has corruption, or the fight against corruption, cost you anything? Have you ever received threats or any inconveniences?
Well, I must say it is really the opposite. I had an unexpected recognition in many, many circles. Yes, I had a number of enemies. I had a lot of detractors, in particular in the World Bank. They tried everything to basically stop what I was doing. Also in the government in Germany, they felt that this would be very damaging to the World Bank, to the German export business if we started to stop German companies from bribing. And therefore I had a good mixture of friends and enemies. But I think the best people really liked what I was trying to do. And now, of course, I feel that this is like a wave of goodwill and support which I find in so many institutions that I cannot really believe how successful this was.
If we had to prioritize how we work against corruption globally, should we catch the big guys with the large transactions, or should we go for the small fish and thereby have leverage to scare off the big guys as an effect?
Well, I think by definition it is very hard to catch the big fish, because they are powerful, and if you get too close to them, they simply eat you up. So it has to be a mixture of everything. One thing is certain: if you only deal with petty corruption, of the school teachers, of the nurses, of immigration officers, of policemen on the street, then they will say, but what about the big fish? I mean, they are getting rich, while we cannot even make a living for our families. So you have to do both at the same time. You have to find the right opportunities.
I would like to thank Peter Eigen for an interesting conversation, and I hope it will inspire people for many years to come. If you want to follow ISFiT online, please go to online.isfit.org. Have a good evening.